Okay, so we're almost done. Last, how to cope and even grow from chronic illness or heart failure. So I sorted these into stages because that's how it happened, and I think that's how it happens for most people. You adjust based on the state of emergency or immediateness or proximity to the illness or event that you're reacting to. So the initial trauma, uh, depression, anger, rebellion, fear, um, all of those emotions just overtake you, and it's your body trying to make sense of what's going on, and it's that initial reaction of you need to do something or else you're going to die. So a lot of just mental and physical trauma. Um, my mom, my grandmother, my grandfather were great supports in helping me get through that initial process where I couldn't really take care of myself. They moved in and really had my back. My mom almost never left my side in the hospital, and that was one of the things that I think really helped me get through it, is that I knew no matter how much pain I'm in, no matter how awful this situation is, she's right there if I need anything. Which leads me to my nurses, who were most of them were very, very just awesome, just great nurses. Put up with a lot of my crap. Uh, I didn't get physically violent with them, but I did throw some really serious language their way. And I kept ripping out my breathing tube. So, a lot of anger, yeah. Um, there was one nurse in particular who sat me down and really got to talking to me about what would help. And she was giving me the soft treatment. You know, I can't believe you're going through this. She was using empathy, doing everything you're supposed to do. And I told her that I wasn't that type of person. I hate trying to cover up stuff and make it pretty when it isn't. I like looking at the reality of it. Give me data, give me reality so I can do something about it. And she just kicked my ass. She changed her approach from soft and fuzzy to, okay, this is the situation, this is where you're at now, and this is what you can do about it. And I'm here for you. I'm right here trying to help you get through that. And you can either accept my help or you can keep fumbling around and suffering needlessly. And I just broke down in tears. It was transformative. It was one of those points in healing in a hospital that just will never ever leave me. Post discharge from the hospital, I went into fantasy and isolation, fantasy slash denial. So I got into a favorite book series of mine. I read the entirety of Game of Thrones. I started playing a lot of Skyrim, and I was able to protect myself and my mental well-being by progressing at really high levels in by living through those heroes and seeing those things that I wanted to see in myself constantly. I mean, reading about it, playing it. I didn't listen to it, but just really getting into the nitty gritty of I can escape. Isolation in that I stayed at home a lot. I did not want to go out. I wasn't really able to go out a lot. I couldn't drive, so I mean, occasionally I would go to the grocery store and we would go out to eat, but it was really awkward, and I felt really embarrassed about how I looked and what had happened, and I wasn't really ready to be seen by people. I was very embarrassed. Home health and cardiac rehab really helped me physically to come back to a point where I could take care of myself, and I could walk, and I could drive, and I could exercise, and I could work on my diet. All of those things that really a patient needs to do and needs to be able to do to live their own life. Going to therapy, so all of those really strong emotions, I needed to deal with that, and I did that post-discharge, and for about a year afterwards, pretty intense therapy, probably once every week at first and once every 2 weeks, a couple of months after beginning therapy. Again, I was living with my mom while I went back to school. She was taking a lot of care of me, doing my food. I didn't cook. I helped out with laundry. I mean, I was basically a kid at home again. It was very comforting and embarrassing at the same time. I considered it, I kind of failed to leave the nest and go to college. It wasn't my fault looking back, but yeah, definitely how I looked at it at the time. My close friends were able to be there for me in that post-discharge time. Again, those that showed up, they came by just spending time with me and talking about what was going on in their lives, and sharing that with me was enough to show that they cared, and that meant a lot. And my grandparents, again, they gave us a place to live post-discharge, so my previous home wasn't up to snuff for the discharge, and they just happened to help us move. So that happened, and having a close relationship with them and being close with family helped get me through it. So summer of 2012, I really wanted to get back to school. Again, I was really embarrassed and upset about how I failed the launching from the home and going into college, and I wanted to get back to college and catch up. Plus, I'm pretty good at school, so I wanted to focus on that. I used anger to fuel my motivation. I did a lot of working out and trying to say, you tried to kill me, but I'm going to come back and I'm going to be better. So that really helped. I reconsidered my lifespan. and my career. So I have less time to live. It changes your values and what you find important. And basically, I asked myself, if you had a year left to live, what would you do? What would your major be? Would you even go to college? What would you do? And I had originally gone to school for nursing and planned to go into psychiatric nursing, but I realized that that was not something physically that I was going to be able to do. It was a little bit too taxing. So I went and I took the jump into psychology, where I knew that I had heard there's not much, you can't do much with a bachelor's in psychology. But I did it anyway, because what did I have to lose? And it's what I'm passionate about. So I started socializing at school, getting involved in clubs and extracurriculars, really starting to branch out, less isolation, going back to work. I believe my first job out with the LVAD was a tutor. So yeah, that was at the community college, and just helping people with their schoolwork. So I met my educational goal of a bachelor's, and then I went on to get a master's, and then I started work. I had really great coworkers that helped me get through that, and supported me even as I had my chronic illness. I think in general, what to do and what I did, what I would suggest to people with chronic illness to cope and grow, is to acknowledge the ups and downs, acknowledge the change that you have, the change that's going to happen, what you can deal with and what you can do about it. Don't try to deny it. Don't try to go hide in a corner and let life go on without you. It's not worth it. It doesn't get you anything. Plan within reason. So kind of like I was saying, you react to the immediacy or proximity of the event. So if I'm in the hospital, I shouldn't be planning 5 years out. I should be much more focused on, okay, that day, what can I do to get better? Next week, where am I going to be? What's my goal? Whereas a normal person who doesn't have health problems might say, okay, this is where I want to be financially in 6 months. This is where I want to be next year. I might want to plan a vacation, and this is my 5-year plan. I don't do that because my life doesn't, it's much less predictable. I would also say, in regards to planning, be aware of negativity bias. So don't sell yourself short. You tend to see a lot of risks when it comes to chronic illness, or maybe that's just me, but I try not to let that control my life. Self-care, physical, mental, and social. Oh, yes. So above all else, use the resources that are available to you. Your health team, number one. social workers, the support network. Yeah. Make it a game plan.